Hi, my name is Zari Apodaca. I am a junior studio art and art history double major, and I am here with Michael Rose, who is the gallery manager at the Providence Art Club.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you. So Michael was a class of 2013, and he also worked in the VRC. So we wanted to have him sit down with us and kind of ask him some questions about how his time here at PC has influenced his work at the Providence Art Club, and as a big community member, just how such a small community like Providence has such a big impact on the art world. So the first question I wanted to ask you was, can you say a little bit about the biggest takeaway from the Providence College Art and Art History Department that has aided you in your accomplishments and success?
That is a great question. I would say some of the things that I value most about the PC Art Department were the kind of interdisciplinary nature of it, and doing art history in a liberal arts school like PC was a real asset to see how everything sort of intersects with one another, and to not sort of narrow yourself down too much, that you could take history and art history and combine them, or literature and art history, or whatever you were interested in, and sort of put those things together. That was one real asset of being at PC. I would also say that, I loved the PC Art Department. It was such a nurturing place. The fact that it was a relatively small department was great, and you had so much one-on-one attention from your faculty and from the staff there. And so for me, I took every opportunity I could to work in the VRC like you're doing, and to be a research assistant, and to work on the art journal. And it was great to be able to have those opportunities to get your hands into sort of different stuff. So, I honestly can't say enough about the PC Art Department. I loved it, and I still, keep in touch with everybody there, and it was such a great place. And I'm glad to hear about some of the things you're doing, following the same path.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The whole department is so small. That's a good thing. And I think that's one of my favorite things too, is that everything is so close. And, just because you're taking something in art history doesn't mean you're not learning about it and actually practicing it in art. So I think that's probably one of our strongest assets. So the next question is, what is the biggest challenge you've faced in your career thus far, and how did you overcome it?
And that's a good question too. I think for me, and I was telling you a little bit earlier, I graduated with an art history degree. And in a way, I think, I think in a way I was open to doing other things when I graduated. I was like, well, if I end up in marketing or public relations or something, some other field, that would be fine with me. And I went out and I worked in public relations for about a year. And I think that year was quite challenging for me. It was difficult because I had just come out of, working at the art department and having internships in the arts, and really feeling like I was, getting to do art and getting to, work in a field that I was interested in. And then spending a year sort of away from it made me appreciate it all the more. So that year was sort of challenging for me. And what I did was I, applied to every single arts job that I could find. And then I ended up at the Providence Art Club because of a Providence College connection. I was out of school for about a year, and I joined Deborah Johnson to go on the PC Art Department was doing a New York City trip. And I went on the New York trip with Deb Johnson and some other people. And there was someone from the Career Center at PC who was on the bus with us, and who said, oh, the Providence Art Club is hiring for a gallery manager. And I'd done the internship with Kathy Burt, who was also a PC alum. And between talking to Kathy Burt and talking to other people who I knew through internships I'd done, I ended up getting this job at the art club, and I've just stayed there because it was, a perfect fit for me at the time.
Yeah. We talked about it earlier a little bit, but I think it does help. Even though I asked what was your biggest challenge, but having just connections and meeting people and being in different areas of work can always help you, it doesn't always have to be one straight path line, obviously. Okay, so next question is, looking back at your undergraduate career, is there anything you would have done differently that you feel would have aided you better now?
We were also sort of chatting earlier about your being a double major in studio art. And when I was at PC, I declared a studio minor And then when I was about a junior, I kind of got skittish about having an art history major and a studio minor. And I was thinking, oh, well, like I'll take a bunch of business classes and I'll be a business minor instead. And I waited sort of too long. So then I ended up having kind of like two halves of two minors. And no, I didn't actually get a minor when I graduated.
Yeah.
And if I had it to do over again, I think I would honestly finish the studio art minor, because I love studio art, and I wish that I'd or even done a double major in that. Because I don't think, like, when I was in school, I thought it might be kind of a handicap to me somehow. I thought it might not be helpful. But now, looking back, I think it would have just been so much fun to do that. And I wish I had done that in a way. And maybe the only other thing that I wish I'd done more of, I don't know. I guess that's my main thing, is like I wish I had taken more advantage of the studio art side of things when I was at PC.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about earlier, just the way that everything is so connected. I don't think that having at least some part of that in your degree is like, it's not necessarily like, you know, it's not harmful to you.
Mhm.
But I mean, do you think that looking back now, would you have not taken like any marketing courses? Like, do you think those helped you in any kind of way?
Oh, I think they did help. Yeah, I think they did help. So I don't know. I mean, in a way, it was nice to do both things. And, you know, maybe on another day, if you asked me the same question, I would say, you know, I wish I had finished my business minor, because I wish I had, you know, a better sense of like accounting or something. I'm sure there's days I feel like that too. But I don't know. I guess today I'm just having like a studio art day where I'm regretting not taking more studio art class. Like ceramics. I wish I'd taken ceramics. I never did that.
Yeah, no, but you could have done a double minor, but that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, yeah. I was lazy in some ways when I was in school.
That's okay. Okay, so many of the majors in our department work closely with the Visual Resource Curator and Providence College Galleries Curator, and may even consider curatorial work as a professional pathway. What advice do you have as a curator yourself that could be helpful as they consider the scope of their own professional careers?
That is a great question. I think, I mean, for me, I worked in the VRC with the Visual Resource Curator at the time, and I worked with the gallery director at the time. And I think seeing, you know, the way that those places operated was a huge asset to me. And what I would say to people is, I think sometimes, especially when you're in school, you're so focused on, I guess, certain types of pathways. Like you might look at like the graduate school pathway, or you might look at the commercial gallery pathway. And I think keeping an open mind and realizing that there's all kinds of different places. You know, I think when I was in school, the Providence Art Club, which is a pretty unique organization, was nowhere on my radar when I was, that didn't even occur to me that a place like that existed, or that I could use my skills in that kind of setting. So I think maintaining like a level of creativity about it and keeping an open mind about different pathways is good, but taking advantage of those experiences of being in the art department. And even if students can't be, even if they're not able to like take a full-time job in the art department or under the gallery director or whatever, to take advantage of all the great shows. The gallery program at Providence College is excellent. Thank you to Jamie Lee. And I'm sure Kate is doing an excellent job as the visual resource curator. So these are great professionals who people have the opportunity to ask questions of. And I would just say, I mean, that's one thing that when I was in school, I'm really happy that I took full advantage of that, because it was amazing to help hang shows and to see what goes into that. And it's not something that a lot of people in, you know, liberal arts environments get necessarily. So PC, I think, is unique in that way.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just recently, like, just being involved with Jamie Lee, like I was able to get a curator mentorship with Alexis Lowry, and it's been amazing. I've only talked to her once, but it's been amazing just to have that exposure. And I don't know right now in this moment if I'd be a curator. Sounds pretty interesting, but I mean, I have ideas about law school and, you know, now art. And so it's just, again, like, I'm so grateful to have these opportunities. Like you've said, like just being involved with everything and having certain levels of exposure. You know, I think that you're right. It's very unique in this way to have like a gallery or just like this center of, you know, visual resources at your fingertips.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great place.
Okay, so last question. As an active member of the community with organizations such as Rhode Island Latino Art and Gallery Night Providence or the RISD Museum Gallery Lectures, how does engaging with the surrounding community of Providence influence the curatorial work you do at the Providence Art Club?
I think, like you said a little bit earlier, Rhode Island has a rich art scene in a lot of ways. Excuse me. And I think, again, sort of, I mean, maybe that sort of comes from being part of PC, where like there were so many different, things to be involved in and whatever, that whenever someone has come to me and asked if I wanted to sort of participate in something, I've always tried to say yes as much as possible, even if it was something where I wasn't sure if I had an interest in it necessarily. So being on the boards of different organizations, like you mentioned, has been great for me. I think what it's taught me a lot about is, again, seeing just how diverse the art community is. And, there are so many artists, especially in Rhode Island, who maybe don't necessarily have formal training as artists, but who are living a life of an artist, that they are self-taught or they went back to school later in life, finding those kinds of people, finding all these great community-focused organizations like Rhode Island Latino Arts, which does a lot of amazing work, and meeting all kinds of different people. And people who are all, in all kinds of different ways dedicated to the visual arts has been great. And on a practical level, it's informed my ability to bring new types of people to the Providence Art Club for programs, for lectures, for bringing people in as judges and jurors for exhibitions, or to participate when we do community sort of invitational type exhibitions. So having that kind of well of knowledge and knowing who's in your community is really helpful. And because Rhode Island's such a small place, it's pretty easy to do. You can get out and meet a lot of people across the state, and you can have that kind of Rolodex of information. So it's been great in that way as well.
Yeah, I mean, I read the little I don't know what you call it, but you were awarded 22 people to watch in 2022. Congratulations. And I read that something that they said was a caveat of you is that not only do you focus on a place like RISD Museum, I mean, someone doesn't have to be involved in art and they know about RISD, but, even down to a gallery in Woonsocket, you're on it, you know it. And I think that's so great because, I mean, as someone who's native to Rhode Island, I just have always known that this place is like, from the jewelry district to places like RISD, it's just like such a rich place for art. And I think that's really nice that, you are so involved and investigative in a way about making sure you know everything about art.
Oh, thank you. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, so thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.